Hey everybody, it's your boy Nerdicane. I have a longer format video. This one's gonna be a little in depth. This required research, notes. I got some notes here. So let's get into this shit show. I might cuss. I might cuss a little bit in this one because, man, if you want to know what's going on, what's going wrong at Marvel, there's probably no better place to look than here, the Women of Marvel podcast. Now, I was sort of turned on to this. I've never really listened to this beat, but I was kind of turned on this by the Fourth Age. The Fourth Age, he has a YouTube channel. He's really good. He's better than me. He doesn't really review comics. He reviews heroes, and he reviews what makes heroes and villains, what makes them great, and what's going on today that makes them a problem, that makes them suck. But let me get into this. This was taken from a panel. They decided to turn this live panel into a podcast because they're lazy. This is from, it was produced on May 15th, and it is from Y'all West, which is some little convention. I don't know. Young adult something thing, but let me give you the cast of characters here. We have Sana Amanat, political commissar and VP of content and character development at Marvel. Nobody's really sure exactly what she does. Judy something. She is on the new media team. You know all those videos that you watch all those videos you don't watch that Marvel Entertainment puts out on YouTube? She makes those, along with Lauren Sink. She's also involved in the videos you watch. So if you want to tell if something's actually popular, look at Marvel Entertainment on Twitter. I just checked. Marvel Entertainment on Twitter has 8.6 million followers on Twitter, and they'll do one of these videos from Judy Stevens or Lauren Sink or whoever else is in that. You know, those stupid cooking videos or the stupid make me a hero or things like that. 8.6 million followers, and a video like that will get 15, 20, maybe 100 likes, maybe 25 retweets. That's a sign that you're not doing very well with your content. Margaret Stoll on this. You know Margaret Stoll from all those Captain Marvel books that you don't read. 8 reboots in 5 years. She's been on a lot of those books. Sam Magg, she's a writer for Spider-Man games. She's with Insomniac. I don't know what she was doing there. Here's an interesting one. This was Andrea Towers. She is with sales and marketing. Now, there's something, and I'll get into this a little later. Sana Amanat said something in this video, and instantly, boom, red flag. I just threw it. I was like, I said, Andrea Towers, if you are in sales and marketing, you should have jumped across the table and slapped Sana Amanat inside out for what she just said. And I'll get back to that later. Steve Wacker, as they put, honorary woman of Marvel. Wop, 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 wop. He is a creator and content development whatever. Sana Amanat says that he was one of the people who helped bring him into the Marvel Studios, and basically at 18 of this podcast, she mentions him as an ally. She's an ally, not a co-worker, not a co-creator, an ally. Said that he came to her and said, "Oh, you're a woman. You should be great at character development." What part of being a woman makes you qualify? Tell me that part. Did she develop characters with another company? Did she develop writers with some YA publisher? Nobody really knows where Sana Amanat came from. That's the beginning of the problem at Marvel right now. Is they brought people in to be representatives of, as they say, brown people, women of color, and if that's the reason they're brought in, that's all they have to do is never become white, and they'll be fine. They won't get fired. According to those standards, they're always going to do their job as long as they don't suddenly become white. And also for Steve Wacker, how's it feel? You brought her in, and because she's higher on the progressive stack, now she's like your boss. She's pretty much the boss of Marvel. If she says jump, CB Cebulski hires somebody to jump for him, because I don't think CB Cebulski's doing a whole lot of jumping ever. But yeah, there's a lot of problems in this podcast, and I'll kind of break it down by the minute mark that they mention it. So they mention female books being very popular with Marvel. Captain Marvel. They mention Black Widow, Shuri, Ironheart, Squirrel Girl. And I'll go through this as this video is going. In the background, I will show you the pictures or screenshots of this is taken from Comic-Con over the last few months, probably the last 2 months, because I had to go a month back to get Black Widow, because apparently Black Widow was late and missed a deadline and was pushed back. But while this is going long already, I may wind up having to do 2 parts to this. But yeah, they go back, and I'll show you this. Between all those books that they mentioned, I think Captain Marvel had the biggest at about 20,000, and then the rest, between all those books I just mentioned, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Shuri, Ironheart, Squirrel Girl, there's about 60, I'll be generous, about 60,000 worth of sales in all of those videos, in all of those books put together. This next part came at 657, Sana Amanat. I am not going to paraphrase this very much. This is going to be very much verbatim from the notes I took about Sana Amanat, and this is about the subject of comic book stores. You guys, I know sometimes comic book stores can be a little inaccessible, but there are so many places where you can get our comics. Marvel Unlimited, collections and trades from booksellers, rising readers from booksellers. Now, this is the part where if Andrea Towers was actually somebody with sales and marketing, would reach across the table and grab her, because this is live in front of a studio panel. Sana Amanat just took a big crap on her major outlet. At the one store, there's a retailer in the world that they focus their entire business around selling your product. And in 2019, Sana Amanat goes up on stage and says comic book shops can be a little inaccessible. That's like imagine like in the world of fishing, right? Shakespeare, they make fishing rods. That's like somebody from Shakespeare coming out and saying, Bass Pro Shop can be really inaccessible for a lot of people. There's other ways to get it. In a real market, oh man, and comic book shops are struggling enough. But I want this part to say, if you own a comic book shop, if you run one, if you're an employer of that, just understand that Marvel, this person who's very powerful at Marvel, is not on your side. She goes on to say a couple more times that there are mentioning booksellers and other places that you can buy trade paperbacks, and they even talk about the prose content, which you have to go to a Barnes & Noble. They're pushing. Marvel is now actively, and from someone like Sana Amanat, steering people away from comic book shops. That's their main retailer, their biggest retailer. And it's just staggering that somebody would say this and nobody would stop her. Now, if there's anything that I could consider a bright spot from this panel, it would be Lauren Sink. She's sort of a historian of Marvel. She's done some things where she goes into the history of Marvel. And she pulls out some things from the past that were really cool, and I'm like really surprised that they mentioned like the original Miss America, who was sort of like a proto Captain America back in the day. They talked about the original Black Widow, who was before the Avengers, before the unified Marvel universe. It's a very different character, but carried the name Black Widow, and it was a female character back in the, I don't want to say the 50s or the 40s. It was one of the really old ones. She even mentions the female characters of the 60s, And the 80s, she mentioned the 80s She-Hulk, and this is what I kind of took from this, and it was really interesting. She talks about how much fun those were and how she was 80s She-Hulk was a lot of fun, and 90s She-Hulk was a lot of fun. She was kind of like Deadpool before Deadpool, and she was the fourth wall breaking, and she was kind of a tongue-in-cheek character, and she had a lot of really fun adventures and a lot of really cool things. But there was no mention of, Stan Lee, who originally wrote the character, and John Byrne, who was really the person who took the character and made the character into what she was and had a lot of fun with her. But she kind of, we're talking about the women of Marvel. She kind of glossed over that a lot of the women of Marvel back then sort of gravitated to this book because they wanted to write it and they wanted to have some fun. It was a fun character, and they wanted to have fun with it. Like Glynis Wynn, who is the wife of Len Wein, who is the creator of Swamp Thing and Wolverine. She did colors on this. There was a lady named Renee Witterstatter. Excuse me, sorry if I got that wrong. She was an editor on the book for quite a few issues, and then Barbara Karlberg, she did inks on the book. So it shows kind of a duality of the women of Marvel nowadays. Is this person's a historian, and she's on their panel, and a lot of the times when I've listened to a couple of these women of Marvel podcasts, they talk about like, how there weren't really women at Marvel in the past, and the minor character, they said there were so few female characters like me. When this person is a historian who's kind of gone through Marvel, should be the voice of the women of Marvel saying, hold on a second, pump the brakes. This character, this writer, this editor, this inker, this colorist have all worked through Marvel. But it goes against the victim narrative that they use to sort of wedge themselves into the industry, into books that they really don't have the chops, the background, the credentials to be writing. They gloss over all those women who have done it before. They gloss over all the writers who made She-Hulk into an interesting character, and just sort of selectively ignore those things. But and they also didn't touch on She-Hulk now in probably since 2015 or 2014. This new She-Hulk character has been absolutely miserable. Now, let me break it down for you. Look at the screen if you're not driving or doing something else. This is fun. This is a fun character. This is not. Okay? Fun character. Not a fun character at all. And this is J. Scott Campbell doing what J. Scott Campbell does best. I really do love J. Scott Campbell's. I love his work. But when he drew this She-Hulk here, I'm not a big fan of it. I liked sort of the 80s supermodel, big hair, big personality She-Hulk. And this one that he drew, I'm not crazy about. I like his work, but I don't think this really captures the spirit of the character that was set down by John Byrne and the adventures she did in the 80s. Okay, so it turns out I got to do two parts to this video. I will do the other one a little later. I got to put together some stills and some stuff. But, yeah, go check this out. Oh, man, you talk about... If you want to know what the problem is at Marvel, this is a good example of what the problem is at Marvel. And it'll get so much worse than the other one when we start talking about Captain Marvel and Margaret Stoll and the people who've had their mitts on that character for a while. And just... It's become... What do they call it? A fiction suit. Someone mentions the term fiction suit that the writer gets to put on and put themselves into the book. But I'll get into that later. Thanks for watching. Hit a like, hit a subscribe. Tell me what you think about this one, and I will have the next one up pretty quick. Thank you guys. Go have a good day. Bye.